Hi Geometry, let's look at the review for our test. So question number 1 says vertical angles are, so we know from lesson 19, U1L19, we know that vertical angles are congruent. They are going to be the same. They are equal to each other. Let's look at number 2. Angles 1 and 2 are a linear pair. That means they're supplementary. That means they add up to 180 degrees. So if angle 1 is 58, then the measure of angle 2 is equal to 180 minus 58. And that's going to give me 122 degrees for the measure of angle 2. So 1 and 4 are complementary. Complementary angles add to 90. So if angle 1 is 55 degrees, then the measure of angle 2 would be 90 minus 55, or 35 degrees. So let's state the angle relationship in this diagram. So 3 and 4, these two are two angles on a straight line, so they are a linear pair. I know they're going to add to 180 degrees. Angles 7 and 6 are vertical angles, so I know that they are going to be congruent. So those are vertical angles, and they are congruent. 2 and 7 are alternate exterior angles. They are on opposite sides of my transversal, and they're on the exterior of my parallel lines. They will also be congruent to each other. And 5 and 3. 5 and 3 are same side. Notice they're on the same side of my transversal, and they're on the interior. So these are my same side interior angles, and they are going to be supplementary. They will add to 180 degrees. So if the measure of angle 6 is 75, so let's look at this. Let me get a different color. If angle 6 is 75, then the measure of angle 4 would be 180 minus 75, because they are same side interior. Same side interior add up to 180 degrees. And so I know that it would be 105 degrees. If 6 is 75 degrees, what's the measure of angle 2? Well, 6 and 2 are corresponding angles. That means they're in the same location. They're both the top right angle in their little pot of 4. And so that means they would be congruent. So the measure of angle 2 would equal 75 degrees. Supplementary angles add up to 180, and our complementary angles add up to 90. So let's do some algebra problems with these. So for number 11, I need to recognize that these are vertical angles, and vertical angles are going to be congruent to each other. There's examples of this in our lesson 19. So I'm going to write 3x equals 2x plus 16. I'm going to subtract 2x from both sides and get that x is equal to 16. So number 2 is also vertical angles. So my 4y minus 42 equals 2y. You can solve this a couple of ways. I'm going to keep everything positive. I'm going to add 42 to both sides, and I get 4y equals 2y plus 42. I'm then going to subtract the 2y, subtract 2y over. I'm going to get 2y equals 42. If you tried solving this differently, you might have negative 2y equals negative 42 right now. That's how it is on our answer key. I'm going to divide by a positive 2 because that's what I have on my page. So y equals 21. But if you have a negative equals a negative, you're going to be dividing by a negative 2. And a negative divided by a negative is also a positive 21. On number 13, these are corresponding angles. Corresponding angles are congruent. So I'm going to write my 5x equal to 6x. I'm sorry, my 5x plus 10 equals 6x. I'm going to subtract my 5x over and get that my x is equal to 10. So number 14 is an example of complementary angles. They add up to 90. So I'm going to add up 3x plus 5x plus 2 and set it equal to 90. Now I've got like terms, and 3x and 5x are 8x plus 2, which is 90. I'm going to subtract 2 from both sides, and I get 8x equals 88. Let's divide both sides by 8, and I get x equals 11. Hi, geometry. So let's take a look at this problem. So first of all, my 45 degrees and my 5x plus 35 degrees, they're not actually related, but I can figure them out by associating them with other angles. So example, 45 degrees and angle 6 are vertical. So I know 6 is 45 degrees. And then angle 6 and 5x plus 35, those are same side interior, so they are supplementary. So I know 45 plus 5x plus 35 has to equal 180. I also know that the 45 degrees and 3 are corresponding. And then 3 and my 5x plus 35 make a straight line, a linear pair, which is also supplementary. So I have a couple ways to figure that out. So now I'm going to combine my like terms, and I have 180 equals 5x plus 80. I'm going to subtract 80 from both sides. I'm going to get 100 equals 5x. I'm going to divide both sides by 5, and I get 20 equals x. So then the measure of angle 1 would be the same as 5x plus 35 because they are vertical angles here, and the vertical angles are congruent. So 5 times 20 plus 35 equals 135 degrees for angle 1. Angle 2 is vertical with 45 degrees, so it's 45 degrees, and angle 6 is vertical with 45 degrees, so it's also 45 degrees. So for number 16, it just wants to know which angles are congruent, and if so, state why, and if not, state why, and also state if they're supplementary. So 1 and 4 are congruent. Yes, they are congruent, and that's because they are vertical angles. 3 and 4 are not. They are supplementary. They're going to add up to 180 because they are a linear pair. They are two angles on a straight line, 3 and 4. 3 and 7 are corresponding angles. Corresponding angles are in the same location. And so, yes, they are going to be congruent. So 3 and 7 are both the lower left angle, so they're in the corresponding positions. 1 and 8 are on either side of the transversal, and they are alternate interiors. So yes, they are congruent, and that's because they are alternate interior angles. 1 and 6. Now 1 and 6 don't have a relationship, so I need to figure this out here. So first of all, 3 and 6 are alternate interior, and 1 and 3 are a linear pair, which are supplementary. So that's one reason I would know that it's supplementary. Angles 1 and 6. Another reason is angle 6 and angle 5 are supplementary because they are a linear pair, and 5 and 1 are corresponding. They would be the same measure, so 6 would also be supplementary to it. And lastly, 6 and 4 are same side interior, which means they're supplementary, and 4 and 1 are congruent because they're vertical. So 1 and 6 would also have to be supplementary. If angle 1 is 110 degrees, it wants me to find all the other angles. So if angle 1 is 110, angle 4 is 110 because they're vertical. And then angle 5 is 110 because it's alternate interior with angle 4. And angle 8 is also 110 because it is vertical with 5. Now, I know 1 and 2 make up a straight line, and 180 minus 110 is 70 degrees. So angle 2 is 70, angle 3 is 70, angle 6 would be 70 because they're alternate interior with 3, and then 7 would be 70 because it is vertical with 6. Again, you can work yourself around those a little differently if you want. The triangle sum theorem states that all three angles of a triangle add to 180 degrees. So let's use it to do the next problems. All three of these angles add up to 180. So let's write them. in an equation, adding them all up and setting them equal to 180. And 80 and 50 are like terms, so 5x plus 130 equals 180, so 5x equals 50 when I subtract, so x is 10 for 18. This is 90 degrees, and again, I have three angles that should add up to 180. So 30 plus 90 plus 65 plus x all should add up to 180 degrees. And so I have 30, 90, 65. Let's add those up together. And this is 185 plus x equals 180. I'm going to subtract 185 from both sides. I'm getting x equals -5. Now that doesn't really bother me because it's just my variable. And when I put the -5 into my problem, 65 plus a -5 would be 60 degrees. And 60, 30, and 90 do add up to 180. So I think that's pretty good. I'll leave the third one for you to do. Let's jump down to 19. So 19 is an exterior angle theorem. I know that my exterior angle, which is 5x plus 21, is equal to the sum of the two non-adjacent interior angles. So 3x plus 5 plus 38. Let's add those two like terms on the right side, plus 43. And then let's move my smallest x by subtracting 3x from both sides. I get 2x plus 21 equals 43. Let's subtract the 21 over. I get 2x equals 22. Let's divide by 2, and I get x equals 11 for that problem. But it wants to know what f is, so let's go plug my 11 in. 3 times 11 plus 5 is 33 plus 5, which is 38 degrees for angle F. Let's go do the same thing for the second one. So my exterior angle, 15 plus 15x, is equal to the two non-adjacent interior angle sum. So that's 3x plus 13 plus 110. Let's add up my two like terms. I get 15 plus 15x equals 3x plus, what is that, 123. I'm going to subtract my smallest x from both sides. I get 15 plus 12x equals 123. Let's subtract 15 from both sides. I get 12x equals 108. And let's divide both sides by 12, and I get that x equals 9. And they want to know the measure of angle U. So let's plug that in, 15 plus 15 times 9, and it looks like that's going to give me 150 degrees. So let's look at the last two. So first of all, I'm going to use my triangle sum theorem because I can figure out this green angle. Because I know that 74, 63, and the green angle add up to 180. So let's subtract 74 and 63 from 180, and we're going to get 43 degrees. So I know this green angle is 43. But from earlier, I also know that the vertical angle on the other side is 43 degrees. So now I again have three angles of a triangle. 180 minus 38 minus 43 is going to give me 99 degrees for question mark. And let's take a look at this last one. Again, I can figure out this green angle because I know I have three angles that add to 180. 180 minus 55 minus 75 is 50. And now I have 1, 2, 3 angles on a straight line. They all add to 180. So I've got 180 minus the 50 I know, minus the 70 I know, and that would give me 60 degrees for this leftover angle. And lastly, I'm back to three angles in my triangle. So 180 minus 60 minus 81 is going to give me finally 39 degrees for my last question mark and the answer to this problem. Thank you, geometry.